within the World Heritage Singharaja Forest Reserve. Minister Chamal responds. Resolution on Sri Lanka to be presented to the UN Human Rights Council today.
On to your top story for the day. The Samagi Janabalawege held a symbolic silent protest today opposite Parliament entrance against the ecocide rampant in the country.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa and several other MPs engaged in the protest. A protest will be carried out at the Vihar Mahadevi Park tomorrow. We request all those who care about the environment to join this protest and send a message to the government. Terrorism against nature is reigning supreme in the country now. Singharaja, Horton Plains, Anavilundava, Nilgala, Ratugala Reserve, the Knuckles Reserve and every other reserve is being destroyed. This government hunts down the environment. The people of this country have the right to breathe. We need oxygen to breathe. It is the forest network that produces our oxygen. This government does not understand photosynthesis. I think this government must be taught about nature starting from kindergarten. We have to defeat the ecocide conducted by the government. We condemn the destruction of natural resources for political intentions. The penalty the future generations have to pay due to this is very high. We ask the government to stop the destruction of the country's natural resources. Someone has destroyed the paddy. No one knows who did. They say it was the fence and the drains. The Secretary of Defence has asked people to inform them if environmental destruction is taking place because not even they are aware of it. Some say they didn't know of the destruction of Singharaja till Bhagya pointed it out. Maybe it was the fence and the drains that destroyed the paddy. This is not a political move. Protecting the environment, the forests and stopping deforestation is not a political move. This is a fundamental need of the country. If the government has allowed their friends to clear hectares of forests to grow maize and aloe vera, there is no point in further discussing environmental destruction with them. They are done cutting down trees. After the British cleared forests to grow coffee, this year records the highest rate of deforestation. 62,500 hectares have been destroyed in 270 instances.
In more related news, the opposition raised questions in Parliament today regarding a statement made by the Minister of Irrigation on the proposed construction of 2 wevers within the World Heritage Singharaja Forest Reserve.
Chamal Rajapaksa knows about the flood situation in Matara. As a senior minister, I expect an answer from you. We don't have an issue in transporting the additional water to Hambantota based on a scientific method. You recently made a statement citing that you will use 5 acres of land to close Singharaja and construct 2 wevers and direct the water to Hambantota. But are you going to build the 2 wevers inside Singharaja or is it going to be placed somewhere close to Singharaja? We expect an answer from you. The overflowing of the Nilwala and Ging rivers have caused severe destruction. The Department of Irrigation has a system of transporting the water from Kalu, Gin and Nilwala rivers towards northeast for the past 90 years. But not a single government looked into this. There is a large number of people who do not have access to drinking water. This has to be addressed at some point. The proposal that was brought some time ago proposes a plan of acquiring 5 acres in the lower area of Singharaja where around 100 families already reside. This is merely a plan. Approval has been sought from the UNESCO in this regard. Instructions have been given to study the matter and determine if damage will be caused. If not, we will not be able to prevent the floods and provide water to those in need. This will be done after considering all these factors. The media made it seem as if it was being constructed at the tip of Singharaja. Even the media should report accurately after finding out what was said and what will be done. This is not a construction of wevers. How can you build wevers inside a World Heritage? This is the main issue. They somehow end up in Singharaja. Not even rat snakes and vipers will be left alive once the Chinese take over.
The farmers engaged in the Valsabugala Satyagraha Campaign allege certain groups are attempting to discredit their struggle. The farmers of Valsabugala continue to demand the proposed Wild Elephant Management Reserve or Zone to be gazetted. Today is the 66th day of the protest carried out by 86 farmers' organizations led by the Walava Left Bank Joint Farmers Union.
මෙන්න ආරම්භ කරපු සත්‍යග්‍රහයට විවිධ මඩ ප්‍රචාර නිර්මාණය කරමින්
They are spreading false rumors and slinging mud at this Satyagraha campaign. The mayor of Hambantota, their goons and 10 other false farmers unions held a protest yesterday opposite the administration office in Hambantota. Their only request was not to gazette this reserve.
පරිපාලන ඉස්සරහා ඊයේ උද්ඝෝෂණයක නියලුණා. ඔවුන්ගේ එකම ඉල්ලීම බවට පත් වුණේ මේ රක්ෂිතයේ ගැසට් කිරීම නතර කරන්න කිව්වෙලා. මේ කොයි සංවිධාන 86
The struggle begun on behalf of 86 farmers unions covering 7,500 families cannot be stopped through false rumors. I'm also an SLPPer. I'm ready to face challenges. I'm not ready to stop this struggle and we will win this from Valsabugala and never turn back. We have to send the message to the government that if they don't do something about this in the next few days, the Walava Farmers Union is prepared to step onto the roads with all farmers in the country.
වලව ගොවි සංවිධානයේ සූදානම් කියන පණිවිඩය ආණ්ඩුවට රතු එළියක් හැටියට අද සිහිපත් කර සිටිනවා.
Elephants which encroach on villages in Kalgamu and surrounding areas roam around the Theka Calais during the day. It is a common sight for those travelling along the Padiniya road in Anuradhapura. If this elephant corridor is not disrupted, no harm will occur to the vehicles travelling along the road from the elephants. Now our cameras captured how the elephants utilize this elephant corridor to travel to other areas of forests. Moving on to another headline-making story, a risk of landslides in the Unukumar area in Balangoda has been reported following incessant rains experienced in the area.
The Unukumbura Balangoda area is at risk of landslides due to heavy rains experienced last afternoon. Accordingly, Chairman of the Balangoda Urban Council, Chammika Vavegedara, has taken steps to evacuate about 18 people from 3 houses to safer locations.
On to a tragic story reported from earlier today. A moat accident which occurred in Valikada this morning claimed the life of a police officer on duty and another individual.
The accident had occurred in the early hours of the morning at around 4:15 a.m.
when officers of the Police Emergency Response Unit were inspecting vehicles travelling towards Colombo at the Bandaranayakapura junction in Valikada. While the officers were inspecting a truck at the checkpoint, a blue van travelling from Battaramulla towards Buralla had run over one officer and another person, causing severe injuries. The sub-inspector and the assistant of the lorry who sustained fatal injuries following the hit and run succumbed to their injuries upon admission to the National Hospital. The deceased sub-inspector was a 52-year-old officer attached to the Police Emergency Response Unit. Police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana said the driver of the van responsible for the hit and run has been arrested by the Valikada police. The driver of a van travelling from Battaramulla to Buralla has committed the hit and run. The sub-inspector and the assistant of the lorry he was inspecting have lost their lives as a result. Another person has sustained injuries. The driver of the van has been apprehended. He is a resident of Thalawatugoda. Further investigations are currently underway.
Sri Lanka will come under the microscope of international communities today as the UN core group on Sri Lanka will table a resolution against Sri Lanka during the 46th Human Rights Council sessions later today. The core group, led by the United Kingdom, comprises Germany, Canada, Montenegro, North Macedonia and Malawi. This will be the 6th resolution tabled before the UN Human Rights Council since 2012 on promoting reconciliation, accountability and human rights in Sri Lanka. The UN core group on Sri Lanka would require majority of the votes under the simple majority system to pass the resolution against Sri Lanka. Speaking at this year's UNHRC sessions, Sri Lanka rejected the resolution, citing it as a political move that infringes the sovereignty of a country. In more local news, the final rites of the late Agga Maha Pandita, Most Venerable Kotugoda Dhammavasa Thera, the Mahanayaka of the Amarapura sect, will be held on Thursday with full state honours. The mortal remains of the late Most Venerable Thera currently lie at the Dharmapala Ramaya in Mount Lavinia.
In recent times, I don't believe there was anyone to compare the Venerable Thero. He was tireless and worked through all obstacles at all times to enlighten the world and the country to teachings of Buddhism. Our Most Venerable Kotugoda Mahanayaka Thero had a unique style of reciting Bana and chanting Pirit, which will no doubt enrich our young Theros and set a great example for them. Therefore, his passing is a great loss to our Sasana, as he is needed for this time and age. We hope he attains the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
With 5 COVID-19 related deaths reported yesterday, the total number of deaths due to COVID-19 in Sri Lanka has risen to 551. Meanwhile, so far 90,514 deaths have been reported or cases have been reported from the country. 274 cases of COVID-19 were reported yesterday. The total number of COVID-19 recoveries currently stands at 87,058. Meanwhile, the mandatory quarantine period for foreign tourists arriving in Sri Lanka has been reduced from 14 days to 7 days. The Director General of the Tourism Development Authority, Dhammika Wijayasinghe, said the updated guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health will be implemented effective today. Shifting our attention to news from overseas, South Korea's President Moon Jae-in received AstraZeneca's coronavirus vaccine today ahead of an overseas trip as the country began inoculating more senior citizens and health workers in an effort to accelerate its vaccination drive. And that's a wrap of lunchtime news on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Jama Ratnayaka. Take care, stay safe and have yourself a pleasant day.